Chapter 1193. After Jingyu ran a distance away, she flipped down from Injian's back and said, "You go this way, bring your companions back." After speaking, Jingyu's lips curled into a cruel smile and she turned around and ran in the other direction. After many turns, some near and some far, she brought the group of people to a very desolate place. Originally, they could still see her as they chased after her, but after reaching this place, she disappeared in the blink of an eye. The group of men in black nervously tightened their grip on the long swords in their hands as they looked around. Just as everyone was feeling nervous, they vaguely felt something approaching them. When everyone saw the ferocious wolf head peeking out from the bushes, they were completely scared out of their wits. Their faces instantly turned pale. "Hee. Do you really think that it's so easy to enter the Roman forest?" A cold voice exploded in their ears. Before the group of black-clothed men could even identify where the person was, they suddenly saw a black shadow flash in front of their eyes. Then they felt a chill on their necks. Without even saying a word, they fell to the ground. "You are—" The other men in black saw that their companions had died and then looked at Jingyu. The woman standing under the tree was dressed in tight black clothes and the dagger in her hand was gleaming with a sharp light. Strange pupil?" Jingyu's lips curled into a devilish smile. She tilted her head slightly and looked at them from the corner of her eyes. The golden-green light was so dazzling. "Ayaya. We've been discovered." Jingyu's body moved slightly and she slowly turned around. Looking at the group of men in black, she said indifferently, "Since you've discovered my secret, then stay here." Following Jingyu's words, the wolf heads in the dense forest stood out one by one and surrounded the group of men in black. In this silent forest, a faint smell of blood permeated the air. Jingyu's petite body stood coldly on the tree branch. Her indifferent eyes looked at the scene below. The scene of the gray wolf tearing apart the corpse made Jingyu frown slightly. Then, she turned around and flew towards Wei Ling's location. Wei Ling was hiding in the cave vigilantly when he heard a commotion outside. When he looked up, he saw Jingyu appear in front of him. "I thought you wouldn't come back." Wei Ling was slightly taken aback when he saw Jingyu. He lowered his eyes and said. Jingyu's face darkened when she heard this. Was she that kind of person? "If I had known, I wouldn't have come back," Jingyu said as she crossed her arms and looked at Wei Ling. Then she said, "Let's go. It's not safe here. Let's go deeper into the forest." "Okay." Wei Ling responded and followed Jingyu into the depths of the forest. It was easy to be discovered in the periphery of the forest, but not in the depths of the forest. It was just that most people didn't dare to go in. As Jingyu led Wei Ling forward, they suddenly heard the familiar sound of a flute before they had gone far. The hurried sound of the flute was so frightening that Jingyu's footsteps stopped abruptly. "Flute sound?" Jingyu's face turned cold. Then, she straightened her body and carefully identified the direction of the sound. Chapter 1194. Wei Ling, wait for me here for a moment. Jingyu helped Wei Ling hide behind a withered tree, then beckoned to Injian. She leapt onto Injian's back and dashed towards the direction of the flute sound. Wei Ling looked in the direction that Jingyu had left and frowned. Flute sound? Why didn't he hear anything? Jingyu dashed through the forest quickly. As Jingyu got closer, the sound of the flute became clearer. Jingyu's face turned cold. She leapt onto a nearby rock and saw the situation below. Yi Shui, who was covered in wounds, gripped the jade flute tightly. A few wild beasts were under the control of Yi Shui's flute sound and were engaged in battle with the group of men in black. Bai Jiao was leaning against a tree trunk behind Yi Shui and seemed to have suffered heavy injuries. "These bastards!" Jingyu's eyes flashed with a cold glint. She beckoned to Injian and charged towards the black-clothed man in the forest without hesitation. "Jingyu?" Yi Shui saw Jingyu suddenly appear and stopped playing the flute. He raised his hand to cover his chest and his face turned pale. "Stop talking nonsense and move aside." Jingyu waved her hand coldly at Yi Shui. Her golden-green eyes flashed and the dagger in her hand slid towards the throats of the men in black. The wild beast did not stop biting. "It's actually an otherworldly pupil." When the black-clothed men saw Jingyu appear, their eyes were filled with shock. "Boss, we can't hold on any longer," the other men in black said with difficulty. "Retreat." The black-clothed men didn't hesitate and immediately planned to retreat, but Jingyu wouldn't give them the chance. Her eyes flashed slightly, and the beasts suddenly jumped up and blocked their path. Roar! But what surprised Jingyu was that the men in black had something in their hands and sprinkled some powder on the wild beasts. Then, the wild beasts that were blocking the path suddenly collapsed. What the hell? Jingyu's heart trembled violently. Seeing the 3 black-clothed men running away, her eyes turned cold. The 3 blade-like darts in her hands suddenly flew out. 2 of them hit the black-clothed man's lifeline, while the other one was dodged by the black-clothed man. It only pierced his back. Damn it. Jingyu's expression turned even colder when she saw the black-clothed man running away without stopping. Cough cough. Yi Shui half-squatted beside White Nine. Her face was full of anxiety as she held White Nine and said, "White Nine, how are you?" White Nine glanced at Yi Shui and shook his head weakly, indicating that he was fine. Jingyu quickly walked over. Seeing White Nine and Yi Shui, her expression turned cold. She frowned and asked, "What's going on?" It's hard to explain in a short time. Yi Shui's expression turned serious. She looked at Jingyu and said, "Let's find a place to hide first. Countless men in black have entered the Roman forest. In the time that we were separated, we were attacked by more than 10 men. Follow me." Jingyu did not expect the situation to be so serious. Her expression changed, and she helped Yi Shui help White Nine up. Then, they walked towards Wei Ling. In the blink of an eye, there was another injured person. Chapter 1195. Jingyu's mouth twitched. What was going on? When Bai Jiao saw Wei Ling, he smiled bitterly and helplessly. "Your Highness, I've implicated you," Bai Jiao said with a deep sigh. "I should be the one who has implicated you." Wei Ling's eyes were also filled with helplessness. He never expected things to turn out this way. "Both of you can stop for a while. What's going on?" Jingyu glared fiercely at Wei Ling. She turned to look at Bai Jiao, who looked like he was about to die. Without another word, she led the 2 of them into the depths of the forest. In the Roman forest, if Jingyu wanted to hide, how could anyone find her? He had underestimated Jingyu. In the depths of the Roman forest, Jingyu led the group of people on a non-stop journey for an entire day. When night fell, she brought the 2 of them into a pitch-black cave. This was the place where Jingyu often stayed when she was young. She hadn't been here for a few years now. There were no traces of living inside. Jingyu tidied up a little before helping the 2 injured people in. "Yi Shui, are you all right?" Jingyu looked at Yi Shui, who was bandaging her wounds. Her pale face made Jingyu a little worried. She frowned slightly and asked Yi Shui. One had to know that Yi Shui's sonic attack was very harmful to her body. "I'm fine. I'll be fine after some rest." When Yi Shui heard Jingyu's words, she lowered her head and bit on the cloth. After she was done bandaging her wounds, she looked up at Jingyu and replied, "You guys rest here for a while. Yi Shui, clean up Bai Jiao's wounds. Yin Jian and I will go get some herbs and cover up the traces we left behind." Jingyu said to Yi Shui and turned to leave the cave. Be careful." Yi Shui looked at Jingyu's actions and nodded slightly. "Don't worry. No one can hurt me in the Roman forest." Jingyu's lips curled into a cold smile as she turned and left. When Jingyu returned, the sky was already completely dark. Yi Shui's cave was lit with a weak flame. In fear of being discovered, she didn't dare to add more firewood. When she heard noises outside, she saw Jingyu come in. "It's fine. We won't be discovered in this area." Jingyu took a deep breath and took out the things she had prepared. She put the pheasant on the fire and started roasting it. She narrowed her eyes and said, "I'll let the wolves guard the hill. I'll know if there's any movement." After Jingyu finished speaking, she started to tidy up the things. After looking at Bai Jiao's wounds, she turned to Yi Shui and said, "Yi Shui, mash this herb and apply it to Bai Jiao. I'll change Wei Ling's dressing." "Thank you." Bai Jiao heard Jingyu's words and slowly said, "Don't thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank Yi Shui." Jing Yu said without changing her expression. After Jing Yu's words, there was a moment of silence in the cave. Yi Shui lowered her head and mashed the herbs. After taking care of the two injured people, Jing Yu could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It had been a tiring day. I've already notified Xiao Chen. I wonder if Xiao Chen can make it. Jing Yu said as she ate and looked at Yi Shui who was feeding Bai Jiu. What do you plan to do? Yi Shui turned to Jing Yu and said, there are too many men in black. Chapter 1196. It's no use. They won't give up until they find me. Bai Jiu frowned slightly, lowered his eyes, and said, who did you offend? Why are they chasing you so relentlessly? Jing Yu asked, staring at Bai Jiu and twitching the corners of her mouth. Yi Shui also turned her head and stared at Bai Jiu. Obviously, she also didn't know what had happened. It's a long story. Bai Jiu frowned slightly and said, it's all about the grudges in the Jianghu. What? You mean these black-clothed men are all from the Jianghu? Jing Yu frowned, turned around, and stared at Bai Jiu, waiting for him to speak. Bai Jiu sighed deeply and said, have you heard of the Dark Yin sect? Jing Yu thought carefully and found she had never heard of this name. In the Jianghu, the Dark Yin sect is as famous as the Hades sect. Bai Jiu explained slowly, after I escaped from the desert last time, I was seriously injured and was saved by the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect. But I didn't expect that it would plant the seeds of evil. Wait. Jing Yu's brain shook violently. She stared at Bai Jiu with a strange expression and said, the divine sect you're talking about, isn't it a woman? Then she likes you? She wants you to stay in the Dark Yin sect? How do you know? Bai Jiu asked in surprise, widening his eyes when he heard Jing Yu's words. Jing Yu's mouth twitched violently. She raised her hand and held her forehead helplessly. What should she do? How did she know? She guessed blindly. It seemed to be the same kind of cliché. But she didn't expect it to be true. It was true. Then why did you become like this? Why didn't you obey me? Jing Yu fiercely suppressed the thoughts in her heart and blinked her eyes as she asked White Nine. White Nine's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He lowered his head and didn't speak. After a long silence, he said slowly, I told the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect that I already had a wife, and I would never betray her. But I didn't expect that the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect would kill Yi Shui after hearing that. So, the news that I heard that you were in the imperial city of Tokyo was released by the Dark Yin sect to lure me there? Yi Shui's body shook violently. No wonder they kept chasing after her. Yi Shui had thought they were from the Holy Family or the Poison sect. White Nine lowered his head and said, how could I fall for such a despicable trick? In a fit of anger, I injured the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect and escaped. But I didn't expect that she would poison me in order to keep me here. When White Nine said this, he slowly lowered his head, as if he didn't want to say anything more. His expression was a little stiff. When Yi Shui heard this, she suddenly clenched her fists. She turned her head and squinted at White Nine, her eyes full of worry. I escaped and went all the way to the Roman forest. I was rescued by the Crown Prince here. White Nine didn't seem to want to say more and replied slowly. I see. Jing Yu nodded thoughtfully and said, so the people chasing you now are from the Dark Yin sect? Bai Jiu nodded and looked at Yi Shui. There was deep helplessness in his eyes. He said, we can't let the people of the Dark Yin sect find Yi Shui. Otherwise. Bai Jiu's voice was filled with anxiety. Chapter 1197. It seems that it's too late to say anything now. Jing Yu raised her hand to support her chin and said, one of the members of the Dark Yin sect has escaped. He must have exposed the news of you and Yi Shui. It's too late to tell him not to expose you now. Now. Bai Jiu looked a little anxious. He looked at Jing Yu and frowned slightly, saying, I hope that the 9th imperial concubine can help Yi Shui. What? Jing Yu heard Bai Jiu call her that. She blinked slightly and looked at Bai Jiu with surprise in her eyes. The girl with different pupils is naturally the 9th imperial concubine. Bai Jiu seemed to have noticed the doubt in Jing Yu's eyes. He lowered his eyes slightly and replied indifferently. I forgot about my eyes again. Jing Yu frowned discontentedly. It was really inconvenient that she couldn't hide her eyes. Then she stood up and said, Yi Shui is my friend. I will help her even if you don't ask. It's just the Dark Yin sect. Anyway, we already have the Poison sect and the Holy Family. It doesn't matter if we have one more. Jing Yu shrugged her shoulders indifferently. Bai Jiao and Wei Ling fell asleep after that. Jing Yu sat at the entrance of the cave, playing with the dagger in her hand. Yi Shui also leaned against the wall and fell asleep. The night was dark. Jing Yu gazed at the dark forest quietly. She didn't make any sound. When the gray sky lit up, Jing Yu finally heard the sound coming from outside the forest. Jing Yu, who had been guarding for the whole night, stood up slowly and looked toward the forest. In the depths of the forest, Jing Yu saw a black shadow flash. Xiaochen. Jing Yu's eyes lit up slightly. She smiled faintly and walked toward Xiaochen. Are you okay? Xing Er and Xing Yi followed closely behind Xiaochen. Yin Feng, who was leading the way, circled around Jing Yu once before sitting down and panting. It was obvious that it was exhausted from the journey. I'm fine. Jing Yu raised her head and looked at Xiaochen. Her eyes curved slightly as she said, I thought you would need some time to get here. Did you meet anyone on the way? Yes, Xiaochen nodded and said, I already know that they are from the Dark Yin sect. The Dark Yin sect is not a big deal, but there is another group of people. Jing Yu frowned and told Xiaochen about how she saved Wei Ling. Xiaochen frowned as well. No wonder I saw a group of people who looked like trained men of sacrifice on the way. It turns out that they are from the Weizan. Xiaochen lowered his eyes slowly. Weizan? Wei Ling's brother? Jing Yu blinked and looked at Xiaochen in confusion. Xiaochen pulled Jing Yu to sit down on a stone nearby and said, The Cebu is different from the Tokyo. According to the rules of the Tokyo, the crown prince is the eldest son of the legal wife. The Cebu is different. In the Cebu, those who are capable can become the king of the Cebu. Wei Ling showed amazing talent from the very beginning and was made the crown prince. Wei Ling is ranked 5th in the Cebu. He is neither the eldest son nor the son of the legal wife, but he was made the crown prince. Wei Zan is the eldest son of the empress, but he was overshadowed by Wei Ling. Of course, he felt it was unfair. Xiaochen said slowly, there was a rumor that Wei Zan intended to compete with Wei Ling for the throne. But it was just a rumor. I didn't hear anything about it. Chapter 1198. Now that you mention it, I remember that when Wei Ling went to battle, it was the best time for Wei and to take action. Xiaochen said with a disdainful smile, according to Wei Ling's arrogance, I'm afraid that he didn't take Wei in seriously at all. That's why he was tripped. It was a lesson for him. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes slightly. He didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. I see. Jing Yu nodded. She had heard about most of the affairs of the royal family. Jing Yu knew that there were countless fights between the royal family, no matter in which country. Outside this forest, there are assassins everywhere. What are you going to do now? Xiaochen paused slightly and asked Jing Yu. Wei Ling's matter has nothing to do with me, but I have to save Yi Shui and Bai Jiao. Jing Yu looked up at Xiaochen and said, What else can I do? Kill them. Xiaochen looked at Jing Yu's relaxed expression. He rubbed Jing Yu's head and said, Don't underestimate the hierarch of the Dark Yin sect. The Dark Yin sect is not simple. Not simple? How is it not simple? Jing Yu blinked her eyes in confusion and asked Xiaochen. The origin of this woman. Xiaochen frowned and didn't continue. Jing Yu didn't hear Xiaochen finish. When she was about to continue asking, she heard Yi Shui calling her from behind. It was already dawn. Jing Yu stood up and walked towards Yi Shui. Yi Shui saw Xiaochen and nodded to greet him. How are you? Do you feel better? Jing Yu asked when she saw Yi Shui's face had almost recovered. Much better. Bai Jiao and Wei Ling are still resting. Yi Shui answered. You came at the right time. Let's talk about what to do next. Jing Yu pulled Yi Shui away so as not to disturb Bai Jiao and Wei Ling. They sat down by the rock and began to discuss what to do next. It's not difficult for us to go out, but we can't do it quietly. Jing Yu frowned and said, Xiaochen has just told us the situation outside. The Dark Een sect has surrounded this forest. It seems that they won't give up until they catch Bai Jiao. Wei Yin's people are even more ferocious. These two groups are wreaking havoc in the forest. It's too difficult for us to go out quietly. What's more, Bai Jiao and Wei Ling are injured. After hearing Jing Yu's words, Yi Xuan nodded in agreement and said, "But if we can't go out, it's not a good idea to be trapped in the snake forest." So, Jing Yu slowly raised her head and looked at them. "Let's kill them and make them run away." Jing Yu's words made Xiao Chen and Yi Xue twitch their mouths. They looked at Jing Yu speechlessly. What a strange idea. Yi Xue stared at Jing Yu and said, "Do you really want to kill all these people? But besides this idea, is there any other way?" Jing Yu shrugged and said, "Do you want to sacrifice Bai Jiao and let the devil of the Dark Een sect take him away?" Jing Yu squinted at Yi Xue and said. Chapter 1199. Absolutely not. Yi Xue flatly refused without even thinking about it. That's it. We can't get out, and we can't hand him over. What else can we do but kill him? Jing Yu stared at Yi Xue and said, "Jing Yu is right." Xiao Chen said coldly, "Don't even think about talking to the sect leader of the Dark Een sect. You can't communicate with her. She might even kill you directly because you are Bai Jiao's wife." Yi Xue's pupils shrank slightly. She could almost imagine what kind of person the sect leader of the Dark Een sect was. She is really a female devil. Jing Yu swallowed silently. The image of a furious devil appeared in her mind. She must be the kind of woman with a great figure, a super beautiful face, and a bloodthirsty heart. Damn it. She is so majestic. Jing Yu swallowed silently. She thought that she could only look at this kind of woman, but never touch her. She was not someone who could be controlled by normal people. After a discussion, no decision was made. They could only take one step at a time. Yi Xue went to look for food, while Jing Yu and Xiao Chen stayed here. Jing Yu finally noticed Xing Yi and Xing Er, who were standing aside. "Xing Yi, long time no see." Jing Yu greeted Xing Yi with a smile. She looked at Xing Yi from head to toe and said, "Are you okay?" "Thank you for your concern, madam. I'm fine now." Xing Yi bowed to Jing Yu. "But it seems that Qing Gu is quite reliable." Jing Yu sighed after hearing Xing Yi's answer. "If Qing Gu hears what you just said, he'll be hopping mad again." Xiao Chen's lips curled into a faint smile. "Ah." Jing Yu also laughed out loud when she heard that. Her eyes were slightly curved as she sat on the rock and chatted with Xiao Chen. Interrogation Officer 1 and Interrogation Officer 2 stood not far behind them and seemed to be chatting as well. Yin Feng lay lazily on the grass at the side and used his claws to stroke his fur. Wei Ling stood up with the help of the wall. When he was standing at the entrance of the cave, he saw this scene from afar. Jing Yu's face was full of smiles, and Xiao Chen's gentle smile. He didn't know how long he had known Xiao Chen, but he had never seen Xiao Chen so gentle. As expected, Jing Yu treated Xiao Chen differently. For some reason, Wei Ling felt a little envious when he saw Xiao Chen and Jing Yu interacting with each other. That kind of envy. "You're up." When Wei Ling lowered his head, Jing Yu's voice sounded in his ears. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen had stood up and walked towards Wei Ling. When Wei Ling heard Jing Yu's voice, his expression changed slightly before returning to normal. Wei Ling responded to Jing Yu. He tilted his head slightly and looked at Xiao Chen. His gaze was still sharp. "Ninth Emperors, long time no see." Wei Ling's lips curved into a cold smile. He narrowed his eyes and called out to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen sized up Wei Ling with a mocking smile in his eyes. He said with interest, "I never thought that the Crown Prince of Cebu would one day end up like this." The same goes for you. Tokyo, the Ninth Emperors, aren't you living in a small town now? Wei Ling didn't care at all and replied calmly. Chapter 1200. Jing Yu's expression darkened. She didn't understand why the two of them were standing there and saying such strange things. "You sick person, you should go back and rest." Jing Yu pushed Wei Ling into the cave without another word. This impolite action instantly shattered the momentum that Wei Ling had managed to maintain with great difficulty. And you, what are you standing there for? I'm starving to death, hurry up and get something to eat. Jing Yu's tone made Xiao Chen touch the tip of his nose and turn around to look for food. The two of them were completely powerless against Jing Yu. Their arrogant and despotic appearance just now had completely disappeared. Bai Jiao, who was by the side, saw this scene. His eyes were tinged with a faint smile as he looked at this scene. This 9th imperial concubine was truly not simple. Xiao Chen and Wei Ling were originally enemies, but at this moment, they didn't seem to pay much attention to each other. In the past, no matter when they met, Xiao Chen and Wei Ling didn't seem to back down at all. When the two countries were at war, the two of them were opponents who appreciated each other. When the two countries interacted, the two of them would also have a war of words. It was probably only when facing Wei Ling that Xiao Chen, a person who cherished his words like gold, would say a few more words. One had to know that Xiao Chen wouldn't even look at some people. What a fragrant rabbit leg! Lady Jing Yu's skills are truly amazing. Wei Ling's complexion was clearly much better today. When he saw Jing Yu roasting the meat, he said with a smile. Jing Yu didn't care at all and responded with a grin. On the other hand, Xiao Chen's expression darkened. Did Crown Prince Wei injure his head? Jing Yu is already the 9th imperial concubine. You should call her the 9th imperial concubine and not Lady Jing Yu, Xiao Chen said as he grabbed Jing Yu's waist and coldly looked at Wei Ling with his pitch-black eyes. Is that so? Wei Ling wasn't willing to be outdone. He straightened his back and said, I heard that the Emperor of Tokyo, Xiao Yi, gave a verbal order a long time ago to take back the title of the 9th emperors. Ha! Xiao Chen said with gritted teeth. Even so, it doesn't change the fact that Jing Yu is already my wife. Crown Prince Wei, shouldn't you call her Madame Xiao? Jing Yu listened to the two's verbal battle and rubbed her forehead with a headache. You two, are you going to eat or not? Jing Yu stared at the two people sitting beside her and asked. They're not eating, I'm eating. Bai Jiao silently reached out to take the rabbit meat, but Xiao Chen and Wei Ling instantly reached out and slapped her hand away. Who said we're not eating? Who said we're not eating? Xiao Chen and Wei Ling said this at almost the same time. Jing Yu looked at the two strangely. When did the two of them have such good chemistry? They could even speak at the same time. Especially when the two of them grabbed a rabbit leg and glared at each other. Jing Yu inexplicably had a strange thought. Yi Shui and Bai Jiao silently ate their food. They also felt strange when they looked at Xiao Chen and Wei Ling. The two of them were like enemies. No matter what they encountered, they would criticize and argue. When it was time to apply medicine, Xiao Chen happily snatched it over and helped Wei Ling apply medicine. Then, when the medicine was applied, the two of them took off their clothes to compare their muscles. Chapter 12:01. What the hell are they doing? Xiao Chen, are you still 3 years old? Jing Yu's mouth twitched. She couldn't understand what they were doing. The 9th emperors and the crown prince have a good relationship. Bai Jiao sighed with emotion when he saw Xiao Chen and Wei Ling acting like this. Who has a good relationship with him? Who has a good relationship with him? They said in unison again. Jing Yu shook the grass in her mouth silently. Why did she have a feeling that her husband was going to be taken away? It was so scary. Jing Yu swallowed her saliva silently. Should she take Xiao Chen back now and announce her status? Bai Jiao and Wei Ling were resting in the cave. Xing Yi stayed to protect them. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen went to the periphery of the forest. They needed to find out what was going on with the Dark Yin sect. There are so many people. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were hiding all the way. They saw groups of people passing by them quietly. Obviously, they were looking for them. Almost all the people of the Dark Yin sect have come out. Xiao Chen said with a strange expression, it seems that Feng Yu is determined to catch Bai Jiao. Feng Yu? Why is the name of the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect so strange? Jing Yu mumbled to herself. The group of people were hiding in the bushes. As they were talking, they suddenly saw Jing Yu and Second Xing take out a mask each. Why are you wearing a mask? Jing Yu asked, blinking her eyes. You wear one too, Xiao Chen said and took out a veil to cover Jing Yu's face. But when he saw Jing Yu's eyes, he frowned and thought about when to put away the veil. Jing Yu didn't know what Xiao Chen meant. Be careful, Xiao Chen said and then left in another direction with Jingyu. Jingyu couldn't understand Xiao Chen's behavior at all. But later, she understood why Xiao Chen had to wear a mask. Jingyu and the others had almost finished their investigation. When they were about to go back, they were exposed by Yin Jian. "Over here!" Jingyu and Xiao Chen heard a shout. They saw Yin Jian, who was holding a hair in his mouth. He was confused. "You only know how to eat." Jingyu raised her hand and rubbed Yin Jian's head. The noise had attracted a large group of people. Jingyu and Xiao Chen turned around and were about to run away. "Hurry up! Stop them!" Obviously, these people had set up ambushes in various places. When they heard the noise, they immediately surrounded Jingyu and the others. Jingyu looked at the people in front of her and frowned. "Sect leader, I caught him." Just when Jingyu and the others were looking serious, they suddenly heard a voice. Their faces froze and they looked in the direction of the voice. They saw that the encirclement slowly opened up a path. Jingyu opened her eyes wide. It was the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect, the she-devil. Thinking of this, Jingyu held her breath silently. She didn't know whether the sect leader of the Dark Yin sect was as powerful as the Dongfang Booby on TV. However, just when Jingyu was looking at the sect leader attentively, a small and short girl walked out of the crowd. She had a cute face and a pair of black eyes. She stared at Jingyu, Xiao Chen and the others. Chapter 1202. Have you found my husband? Have you found him? Where is he? Where is he? The little girl jumped up and down happily in Jingyu's eyes. Her eyes were full of joy as she looked left and right. Sect leader, aren't those two men your husband? A sect member reached out his trembling hand and pointed at Xiao Chen and Xing Er. When the little girl heard what the man said, she turned her head to look at Xiao Chen and second Xing from head to toe. Then, she suddenly became furious. She jumped up and raised her hand to hit the man's head. Yes, because she was not tall enough, she had to jump up to hit the man's head. Jingyu was shocked by the scene in front of her. She didn't come back to her senses for a long time. Are you out of your mind? How could these two men be my husband? My husband is so handsome. How handsome? How could he be these two ugly masked men? The little girl's coquettish words exploded in Jingyu's ears. Ugly masked men. Jingyu laughed out loud. Xiao Chen was described in this way. Even though Xiao Chen was wearing a mask, the side of his face was still very handsome. However, in this little girl's words, he became an ugly masked man. Moreover, this little girl was the legendary sect leader of the Dark Yin sect. Where was the female devil? Where was the sexy and fiery one who swung a leather whip? At this moment, Jingyu felt a deep resentment from the bottom of her heart. Sect leader, please spare my life. Your description is too difficult. I don't know how to find him. The subordinate was about to cry. Is it difficult to understand what I'm saying? I think you can throw away your ears. The little girl raised her hand and was about to give an order. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something. She turned to look at Jingyu and Xiao Chen and said, "But, these people." The little girl said and pointed at Jingyu. Jingyu blinked her eyes and stared at the little girl with a puzzled expression. You are the one who hurt my second table, right? The imperial concubine with different pupils? The little girl frowned and stared at Jingyu. Table. At this moment, Jingyu was dumbfounded. When did she hurt the table? Sect leader, I'm not called table. I'm called Winerjua. The man in black lowered his head and said. He was on the verge of tears. Isn't it just table? The little girl stared at Jingyu and said. Say it. Where did you take my husband? If you don't say it, I'll gouge out your beautiful eyes and play with them as balls. Jingyu's face stiffened. She looked at the little girl who was threatening her but didn't feel threatened at all. What to do? She almost couldn't hold back her laughter. Little devil, your big brother Feng Ling didn't help you comb your hair again? At this moment, Xiao Chen, who was standing on the side, suddenly said this sentence in an incomparably calm manner. Ah! The originally arrogant little girl screamed as if she had seen a ghost when she heard this. She stared at Xiao Chen in horror and quickly hid behind one of her subordinates. Chapter 1203. Feng Yu was completely terrified. She stared at Xiao Chen with her big watery eyes and shouted, "Why are you perverted uncle here?" Xiao Chen laughed coldly and didn't say a word. This made the little girl hide behind him in fear. "Let me tell you, I can kill people now. If you dare to cut my hair again, I'll kill you." Feng Yu glared at Xiao Chen with a pair of large, menacing eyes. "Is that so?" Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, "I think you'll definitely turn around and tell your brother Feng Ling, right?" "I won't." Feng Yu heard Xiao Chen's words and her face instantly turned red. It was as if Xiao Chen had poked her sore spot. She glared at Xiao Chen and said, "You still haven't answered me. Why are you here?" Jing Yu looked at this scene strangely. "I know." Before Xiao Chen could say anything, the little loli suddenly thought of something and suddenly jumped out and shouted, "You're with them. You snatched my husband away." Xiao Chen's eyebrows twitched and he frowned. "You stinky king of hell. You stole my brother Feng Ling and now you want to steal my husband. I'm going to kill you." As Feng Yu spoke, she pulled out a long whip from somewhere. She didn't give Xiao Chen a chance to speak and threw it at him without saying anything. "Damn it." Xiao Chen suddenly jumped away and dodged Feng Yu's whip. He frowned and glared at Feng Yu. "When did I steal your brother Feng Ling?" "You just stole my brother Feng Ling." Feng Yu didn't listen to Xiao Chen's words at all. She swung the long whip in her hand and fiercely attacked Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen dodged left and right. Obviously, he wanted to attack, but Feng Yu didn't care about Xiao Chen at all. The long whip in her hand approached step by step, not giving Xiao Chen any time to catch his breath. "Stupid girl, do you really think I can't do anything to you?" Xiao Chen abruptly stopped in his tracks. The moment he saw the long whip coming towards him, he raised his hand and grabbed the long whip. He pulled it hard under Xiao Chen's gravity pull. Feng Yu's face was full of shock. With a cry of surprise, she rushed towards Xiao Chen, and then, "Papa! Stupid girl, I will teach you a good lesson today. Let's see if you still dare." With a cold face, Xiao Chen held Feng Yu in his arms without saying a word. He raised his hand and slapped Feng Yu's but one after another. "Wow! Stinky pervert! Stinky king of hell! Let go of me!" "Wah!" After being caught by Xiao Chen, Feng Yu unexpectedly burst into tears after being slapped. "Jing Yu! Yishui!" The two of them were stunned by the turn of events in front of them. They had lost all their words. What was more frightening was that the disciples of the Dark Yin sect looked at this scene with gloating smiles on their faces. "What the hell? Isn't the little girl being bullied your sect leader? Shouldn't you be risking your lives to protect her? But why is everyone laughing?" Jing Yu completely lost the ability to speak this time. "Brother Feng Ling, help!" Feng Yu struggled for a long time but failed to break free from Xiao Chen's evil clutches. Then, she began to shout at the top of her lungs. Jing Yu suddenly broke out in sweat and the corners of her mouth twitched. Chapter 1204. Just as Jing Yu was engrossed in watching, she suddenly felt a chill run down her back. What beautiful eyes! Before Jing Yu could react, she heard a faint voice that sounded like praise. Then, a person appeared in front of Jing Yu. A person who looked, wow, so cute. Jing Yu looked at the person in front of her. It was as if he had been carved out of the same mold as Feng Yu. Jing Yu sighed in admiration. How could there be such a cute man in this world? "What did you say?" When the man heard Jing Yu's exclamation, the smile on his face froze. He looked coldly at Jing Yu. "Take your dirty hands away." A cold voice sounded. A cold light flashed in front of Jing Yu. Jing Yu blinked and saw the man in front of her retreat far away. "Brother Feng Ling." Ooh. The moment Feng Yu was released by Xiao Chen, she pounced on the man who appeared. "Don't pounce on me." So the super cute man who appeared just now was Feng Yu's brother, Feng Ling? Seeing Feng Ling push Feng Yu's head away with a look of disdain, preventing Feng Yu from coming closer, Feng Yu felt strangely amused. Xiao Chen stood with his hands behind his back. He frowned at the siblings and said in disdain, Have you had enough? Che, the Netherworld King is really heartless. Feng Ling slowly stopped her hand and looked at Xiao Chen. Her lips curled into a smile. It was obviously a very evil smile, but when it was displayed by Feng Ling's baby face, Xiao Chen's expression changed. So cute. Jing Yu's saliva was about to drip out. Looking at Feng Ling's face, she had an inexplicable urge to grab and pinch it. Feng Yu is running amok, and you're actually allowing her to do as she pleases. Could it be that you want to interfere in the battle? Xiao Chen completely ignored Feng Ling's words. His pitch-black eyes narrowed as he looked at Feng Ling. Aya? Is this your wife? Feng Ling ignored Xiao Chen's words and turned her gaze to Jing Yu. Uncle actually got married? Feng Yu's eyes were filled with curiosity as she looked at Jing Yu. She seemed to be carefully sizing up Jing Yu at this moment. She slowly frowned. Jing Yu felt her hair stand on end from the way these two people were looking at her. What a pity! She actually married such a perverted uncle. How great would it be if she were to marry my big brother Feng Ling? Feng Yu said very seriously. Xiao Chen's face suddenly darkened. Ayaya, little sister Xiao Yu's words are so nice. After Feng Ling heard this, his eyes curved into crescents as he reached out to rub Feng Yu's head. The way he looked at Jing Yu instantly changed. What was that look? It was as if he was looking at his wife. Feng Ling, I think you don't want your eyes anymore, do you? Xiao Chen's extremely cold voice rang out. You're really protective. When Feng Ling saw the murderous look in Xiao Chen's eyes, she frowned unhappily and said, No wonder you're willing to give up your position as 9th Imperial Uncle and the Nether Sect for this woman. It's none of your business. Xiao Chen indifferently turned his head away. It's your stubborn temper. If it weren't for me taking care of the Nether Sect, do you think you'd still be able to see the Nether Sect? It would have been destroyed long ago. Feng Ling angrily glared at Xiao Chen as he opened the door and rebuked him. Xiao Chen calmly turned his head away again. Chapter 1205. I didn't ask you to interfere, Jing Yu said. She could almost see Feng Ling spitting out blood. It's none of your business that I'm here. Can't I play here? Feng Ling crossed her arms and looked at Xiao Chen unhappily. It seems that the Dark Insect is also very leisurely. Xiao Chen pretended not to hear Feng Ling's words. He turned around and took Jing Yu's hand. Let's go. Let them play here. Stop. Feng Yu saw Xiao Chen take Jing Yu away and immediately jumped out. She said fiercely, Tell me first, where did you hide my husband? Little sister, Bai Jiao is not your husband. Jing Yu tilted her head and looked at Feng Yu. Her eyes curved slightly as she revealed a faint smile. You really hit him. Hurry up and bring my husband out. Feng Yu said anxiously. Her eyes lit up when she heard Jing Yu's words. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Jing Yu turned around. Her eyes flickered with coldness as she said, Bai Jiao is already married. Don't you think it's wrong for you to pester endlessly? Married? As long as I kill my husband's wife, everything will be fine, Feng Yu said nonchalantly with a shrug. Ta. Jing Yu's eyes turned cold. She looked at Feng Yu and frowned. I won't tell you where Bai Jiao is. Also, if you're still wandering around in this forest, don't blame me for being rude. How arrogant. I'd like to see how rude you are. As Feng Yu spoke, the long whip in her hand suddenly lashed out at Jing Yu. Jing Yu leaped away with the tip of her foot. She looked at the long whip mark with a cold gaze. This little girl was really ruthless. Silver arrow. Jing Yu shouted when she saw the whip lashing at her again. Roar! Yin Jian's figure suddenly leaped up. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Yin Jian bit down on the long whip. A pair of ferocious eyes looked towards Feng Yu. The fangs he bared were even more shocking. Aya! Feng Yu was also frightened by Jing Yu's appearance. She suddenly threw the whip in her hand and looked at Jing Yu with a frightened expression. Yin Yu opened his mouth and let go of the whip. He strode over to Jing Yu's side. Jing Yu reached out and touched Yin Yu's head. You dare to be so arrogant in my territory? Jing Yu's lips were filled with disdain. Her golden green eyes flashed with an icy light. She turned away expressionlessly and walked out of the forest. Remember my warning. I don't mind turning all of you into food for the beasts. As Jing Yu's voice drifted over, Xiaochen turned around as well. As he turned around, he looked at Jing Yu with a strange look in his eyes. Xiaochen and the rest left just like that. Feng Yu bit her lip and looked up at Feng Ling with teary eyes. She called out, "Big brother Feng Ling, is this the power of the abnormal pupils?" Feng Ling didn't seem to hear Feng Yu's call. His eyes flashed with a dark light as he said, "Looks like the rumors can't be trusted. They said that the 9th imperial concubine lost her sight and her abnormal pupils. Big brother Feng Ling." Feng Yu shouted angrily when she saw that Feng Ling was ignoring her. Chapter 1206. Feng Ling lowered her head and looked at Feng Yu. She narrowed her eyes and said, "You've caused such a big mess. What else do you want from me? You used my name to stir up chaos in the Dark Een sect. Do you still want me to praise you?" "I was wrong." Feng Yu looked at Feng Ling's expression and silently retracted her hand. She lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. "As for that Bai Jiao, what's his background?" Feng Ling frowned slightly and looked at Feng Yu. When Feng Yu heard Feng Ling's question, she twisted the corner of her clothes and didn't dare to say anything. After Feng Ling's repeated questioning, she finally understood the cause and effect. She rubbed her head and frowned. "Take the people of the Dark Een sect and leave." Feng Ling turned and walked out of the forest. She said, "Retreat from the forest." But I haven't found my husband yet." Feng Yu immediately became unhappy and said with her eyes wide open, "You still dare to mention it?" Feng Ling glared at Feng Yu and said, "Do you know who you've offended? That's the 9th emperors and the imperial concubine with different pupils. Do you know about different pupils? We're not enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the beasts in the Roman forest." Feng Yu blinked. "I thought that the strange pupil disappeared, but it turns out that it didn't. That was close." Feng Ling muttered to herself as she led her people away. Even though Feng Yu was filled with unwillingness, she couldn't say anything. She silently followed behind Feng Ling, her face full of resentment. When Jing Yu and Xiaochen returned, they thought about what they had experienced today. It was too dramatic. However, Jing Yu had almost forgotten that Xiaochen was the sect master of the Nether sect. However, after hearing Feng Ling's words, she realized that Xiaochen was the sect master of Nether sect. However, after hearing Feng Ling's words, Xiaochen seemed to be on good terms with Feng Ling. "Xiaochen, how did you meet Feng Ling?" Jing Yu asked curiously. "I don't know." While walking, Xiaochen recalled and said, "This guy is a person who wants to see the world in chaos. Very annoying." Xiaochen seemed to be very disgusted. After spitting out these words, he sighed deeply. At that time, in order to get rid of young Master Feng, Master used countless methods, but in the end, she still couldn't get rid of him. Xing Er's eyes were also tinged with a faint smile as he said, "This is probably the most troublesome person for Master." Xiaochen seemed to recall a very bad memory, and the corners of his mouth twitched violently. Jing Yu curiously dug out a mysterious past from Xing Er. Xiaochen had always hated trouble, and Feng Ling was a troublemaker. Even though it was an evil sect that was hated by many martial artists, Feng Ling always liked to poke her nose into other people's business. No matter which sect was fighting, or which young lady was getting married, Feng Ling always liked to join in the fun. When Xiaochen was in the Nether sect, the number of times he got into fights was all because of Feng Ling. Feng Ling's greatest joy was to pester Xiaochen. In order to get rid of Feng Ling, Xiaochen used countless methods, but to no avail. In the end, he even exposed his identity as the 9th emperor's. With this information on him, Xiaochen's days were extremely miserable. Fortunately, Xiaochen also had something on Feng Ling. That was how the two of them came to an agreement and lived peacefully for so long. After arriving at Upper Freeze, Jing Yu heard all of this mysterious past from Xing Er. So this was how the Nether sect got its name. Chapter 1207. Inside the cave, Jing Yu told Bai Jiao and Wei Ling everything that had happened today. When they learned that Xiaochen was related to the Hades sect, Wei Ling's expression was very interesting. I remember that someone once hired assassins from the Hades sect to assassinate me. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes calmly. His lips curled into a faint smile as he looked at Wei Ling. He actually revealed a very happy smile and said, "Don't you think so, Crown Prince Wei?" Wei Ling's eyes twitched when he heard that. He must have been out of his mind back then. If nothing unexpected happens, the people of the Dark Een sect will withdraw. Jing Yu glanced at Wei Ling and Xiao Chen. She didn't want to talk to them. She frowned slightly and said, "The Dark Een sect is not a big problem, but what about Wei Yin?" Jing Yu turned to Wei Ling and asked, "What's your plan? Do you want to go back? Or what?" Jing Yu frowned and looked at Wei Yi. "It's not the time to go back. I have a backup plan." Wei Ling shook his head slowly and said, "But we still need to hide in this forest for a few days." "You mean you want us to stay here and take care of you?" Jing Yu was in a dilemma. She crossed her arms and stared at Wei Ling and said, "I really regret it. Why did I save you like a lunatic?" Wei Ling lowered his head and didn't say anything. Obviously, it was not the right time to say anything. In the following period of time, Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others completely settled down in the Roman forest. When Jing Yu and Xiao Chen had nothing to do, they would go out of the forest and provoke the death warriors of Wei San, killing them indiscriminately. They either went to some scenic spots in the depths of the forest, or went to pick some unknown wild fruits. Interrogation Officer 1 and Interrogation Officer 2, on the other hand, ran between the forest and Jinling. They did not feel out of place at all. She didn't know why, but the days in the Roman forest were especially happy. It made Jing Yu feel like she was on vacation. From time to time, she would climb some towering ancient trees or ride a giant eagle to play around. During this period of time, Wei Ling's injuries were getting better day by day. White Nine could finally move around freely. They were all in pairs. This was the first time Wei Ling felt such pressure. He frowned unhappily and sighed deeply. Sibu had a lot of wives and concubines, but none of them were sincere to him. None of them were like Jing Yu and Yi Shui. None of them. Just as everyone was having fun in the forest, Second Interrogation Officer came back from Jinling with a piece of explosive news, which broke the peace and tranquility. "What did you say?" Jing Yu stared at Xing Er with shock in her eyes and said, "Sibu, Tokyo, and Nanli have formed an alliance?" This news shocked everyone present. "Yes." Xing Er nodded solemnly and said, "Tomorrow is the first battle of the three countries." Hiss! Jing Yu sucked in a breath of cold air, and the expression on her face instantly became extremely solemn. Wei Yin is too impatient. After a brief moment of shock, Wei Ling's hands slowly clenched into fists. The expression on his face kept changing. Under everyone's gaze, Wei Ling gritted his teeth and said, "I can't wait any longer. I have to go back." Chapter 1208. There's a second piece of news. After Wei Ling finished speaking, Xing Er lowered his head and continued, "Crown Prince Wei Ling died in an accident." After Jing Yu heard this, she looked at Wei Ling with a dumbfounded expression. She asked hesitantly, "Could it be that you are not a human but a ghost?" Wei Ling's originally serious expression disappeared after hearing Jing Yu's words. Everyone's mouths twitched as they looked at Jing Yu. They couldn't keep up with Jing Yu's train of thought. "I knew Wei Yin would be like this, but I didn't expect him to be so impatient." Wei Ling let out a sigh of relief and said, "This news isn't bad news for me." And then, Wei Ling slowly stood up and looked at Xiao Chen and Jing Yu. He said, "Thank you, 9th Imperial Concubine, for saving my life. After I go back, Sibu will withdraw from the fight for the other pupils. However, in half a year, I will return. This time, Xiao Chen, I want to fight for the world with you. No matter the result, I hope you can accept my challenge." Wei Ling looked deeply at Xiao Chen and said, "Pa." Xiao Chen smiled indifferently. He narrowed his eyes at Wei Ling and said, "After fighting for so many years, you're still like this." Xiao Chen's eyes drooped slightly. When he raised them again, his pitch-black eyes were filled with disdain as he looked at Wei Ling. His pitch-black eyes flickered with a fervent light as he said, "Good. I accept your challenge. I also want to see who is the true winner of the 4 kingdoms." It's a deal. Of course. At this moment, Jing Yu seemed to understand these two men. The burning battle intent between Wei Ling and Xiao Chen made Jing Yu's blood boil. As expected, Wei Ling left. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen couldn't stay either. They brought Bai Jiao and Yi Shui back to Jinling. However, on the way back to Jinling, I finally caught you, husband. Jing Yu's face was dark as she looked at Feng Yu, who was dashing over. Without thinking, she reached out to stop Feng Yu from charging towards Bai Jiao. Let go. Feng Yu stared at Jing Yu with a pair of round eyes. Little lowly, didn't I tell you that Bai Jiao has a wife? Jing Yu pulled Feng Yu away. When she saw Feng Yu's arrogant head, she could guess what Feng Yu was going to say. Before she could open her mouth, Jing Yu said, "If you dare to talk about killing people again, I'll let these two wolves eat you." I didn't say anything. Feng Yu saw the two large gray wolves behind Jing Yu and her face instantly paled. She quickly retreated and swallowed her saliva. She looked at Jing Yu with eyes full of fear. When Jing Yu saw Feng Yu's reaction, she nodded her head in satisfaction. Sure enough, this was how a child should behave. Nether King, you should really take care of your wife. Look at how scared she is. Feng Ling's words rang out. She glanced at Jing Yu with hidden bitterness. She raised her hand and pulled Feng Yu behind her to protect her. This king's people don't need you to tell them what to do, Xiao Chen said as he looked at Feng Ling indifferently. Feng Ling's mouth twitched. Chapter 1209. Forget your friends when you have a wife. Feng Ling crossed her arms and squinted her eyes. She looked past Jing Yu and Xiao Chen to Bai Jiao and Yi Shui behind her and said, "That gigolo is the man who seduced my little sister." Hey, how did it become seducing your little sister? It's clearly your sister who's pestering him. Jing Yu immediately began to shout angrily as soon as she heard this. Feng Ling touched the tip of her nose and said, "It's all the same anyway. That man has been poisoned with goo. If he doesn't get detoxified, he probably won't live past 2 months." What? Jing Yu's eyes widened when she heard this. She looked at Feng Ling in shock. Then, she turned to look at Feng Yu and said, "Could it be that this little lowly poisoned him with the goo?" "Didn't Xiao Chen tell you about Xiao Yu's identity?" Feng Ling saw Jing Yu's shocked expression and blinked at Xiao Chen. "I forgot." Xiao Chen seemed to have just remembered that he forgot to mention Feng Yu's background. "We're from Yaojiang." Feng Ling grinned and said, "Raising goo is our specialty." The image of Feng Ling holding a white caterpillar-like bug appeared in Jing Yu's mind. She felt nauseous and silently leaned toward Xiao Chen, as if she didn't want to talk to Feng Ling. "Xiao Yu's goo shouldn't have taken his life," Feng Ling said as she looked at Bai Jiao. Feng Ling crossed her arms as she looked at Bai Jiao and said, "But he actually broke through the goo's restraints and forced the goo out. That's why he left behind this problem." "What do you mean?" Jing Yu blinked in confusion and looked at Feng Ling with a frown. Her eyes were filled with confusion. "Ask him." Feng Ling spread her hands and looked at Bai Jiao. White Nine stood beside Yi Shui. He was dressed in white and had not changed his clothes. That huge, strange cloak covered his head. It looked strange at first, but Jing Yu seemed to notice something was wrong after looking at it for a long time. It seemed that ever since the first time they met, White Nine had never taken off the hat on her head. Her white clothes were very strange. "Yes." White Nine slowly lowered his head and said, "There are repercussions." As Bai Jiao spoke, under everyone's strange gazes, he finally raised his hand and took off the hat on his head. The moment the cloth fell, Jing Yu and the rest widened their eyes in shock. Under the white cloth was a head of snow-white hair. The white hair was very dazzling and there were a few strands of black hair mixed in. Jing Yu finally understood why White Nine was unwilling to take off the white cloth no matter what Yi Shui said. He looked like he was in his 20s, but he had a head of white hair. This shock flashed across Yi Shui's eyes, then she frowned deeply. Her face was filled with heartache. "Back then, after I forced the goo out, I suffered a backlash. My hair turned white overnight and I went everywhere to seek treatment." White Nine clenched the white cloth in his hand tightly and said, "With such a face, how can I see Shui? I can only hide." In just a short sentence, he expressed a lot of heartache. Yixue finally understood why White Nine had come to see her. Her heart trembled and she slowly lowered her eyes. She raised her hand to hold White Nine's hand and said, "How can you be so stupid? If your life wasn't hanging by a thread this time, were you planning to die without seeing me?" Chapter 12:10. Shuer. Bai Jiao gazed deeply at Yixue. At that time, he had been hiding in the dark, watching Yixue call his name over and over again. But no matter what, he couldn't go out to see her. He could only hide in the dark and watch Yixue quietly. He watched the woman who was desperately searching for him regardless of anything. The person he loved deeply. This time, I'm here to give him the antidote. Feng Ling raised her hand and took out a green bottle. She extended her hand to Jingyu and said, "This is the antidote. It's up to you whether you dare to give it to him or not." "Thank you." Jingyu looked at the antidote. She pursed her lips slightly and bowed her head to thank Feng Ling. As for this guy. Feng Ling looked sideways at Feng Yu. She lowered her eyes helplessly and said, "I'll teach her when we get back. I've caused you trouble this time. Do you think you'll let it go just because you've caused me trouble?" Yixue stepped forward slowly and stood in front of Feng Ling. She looked at Feng Ling coldly and said, "You're just a little girl, yet you're so vicious. Won't you cause chaos in the world when you grow up? Dark insect, just you wait." Yixue's pitch-black eyes were filled with coldness as she looked at Feng Ling. She didn't say anything else. She raised her hand and took the antidote from Jing Yu's hand. She supported Bai Jiao and turned to leave. Feng Ling heard Yixue's words. Her eyes flickered slightly, but the corners of her mouth slowly curled up. She sighed and said, "It seems that the days from now on won't be boring. Let's go." Jing Yu didn't say anything. She glanced at Feng Ling and then at Feng Yu. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. "You really have to pay more attention to your good little sister. It would be bad if she was accidentally killed by someone." Jing Yu turned around and caught up with Yixue. She pursed her lips and said, "She always talks about how easy it is to kill others. Then, she must be prepared to be killed." Jing Yu's words caused Feng Ling's expression to change. Beside her, Feng Yu saw Jing Yu's narrowed golden-green eyes and her body trembled violently. She immediately lowered her head in panic. What a terrifying gaze. Jing Yu turned around indifferently and left with Yixue, Bai Jiao, and the others. Feng Ling and Feng Yu stood where they were and watched Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others leave. They swallowed slightly and lowered their heads. Xiao Chen and the others returned to Jinling. At this time, Jinling was fully prepared for war. The first thing Jing Yu did when she got back was to take a bath and sleep. As for the war, there was no rush for it. Wei Ling had returned. Cebu definitely wouldn't be able to form an alliance as they wished. The alliance had come to an end. For the time being, there wouldn't be a war. Xiao Chen told this news to Fang Zicheng and the others. Only then did they feel much more at ease. In the next few days, the alliance army seemed to come aggressively, but there was no movement. Finally, on the 5th day, news came. The alliance army had split up. Cebu had fallen into internal strife. As expected, there wouldn't be a war. This aggressive war didn't happen. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen once again had some free time. However, this leisure didn't last long. Cebu announced that they were withdrawing from the war and bringing their troops back to their country. Jing Yu originally thought that whether Cebu retreated or not, Tokyo and Nanli would continue to attack Jinling. However, she didn't expect that after Cebu retreated, Nanli and Tokyo would suddenly fall out. The two countries actually fell into internal strife. Chapter 12:11. This was a great opportunity for Jinling. How could Fang Zicheng let it go? The 9th imperial concubine. The 9th emperors. Fang Zicheng excitedly rushed into Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's courtyard. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were enjoying their time together, but when they heard Fang Zicheng's voice, they frowned. "If you're here to tell me how the fight between Tokyo and Nanli is going, then you can leave now." Jing Yu didn't give Fang Zicheng a second chance to speak. "It's true." Fang Zicheng's face was slightly red as he looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. "I've carefully investigated and analyzed the situation. The news this time is definitely true. The two countries are really fighting. Jing Yu calmly supported her chin and looked at Fang Zicheng. It's true. Then what do you plan to do? Of course we'll take advantage of the fact that they're fighting to gather our troops and catch them off guard. Fang Zicheng, are you confused? Jing Yu stared at Fang Zicheng's head and said, I thought you were pretty smart. Why did you suddenly become so stupid? Fang Zicheng frowned and looked at Jing Yu. He didn't understand Jing Yu's meaning. Do you really think that our opponents are only Tokyo and Nanli? Jing Yu said quietly. After Jing Yu said this, she didn't intend to say anything else. If Fang Zicheng still didn't understand, then Jing Yu would start to suspect that Fang Zicheng was a fake military advisor. Or did Fang Zicheng have a brain transplant? Clearly, Fang Zicheng instantly understood Jing Yu's meaning and left without another word. In the following days, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen spent most of their time together, except for the occasional training. The battle between Tokyo and Nanli was still going on. According to Xing Yi's report, he couldn't tell what was going on. This battle was too sudden, and Jing Yu had to be on guard. During these days, Bai Jiao's injuries were completely healed under Qin Ji's care. The residual poison in his body was also removed. His originally white hair also recovered under Qin Ji's care. However, the white hair on the side of his ear was completely necrotic and couldn't grow anymore. Bai Jiao didn't care about it. This was also a lesson for him. One day, when Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were talking in the courtyard, Xing Er came to report that Bai Jiao and Yi Shui had arrived. They had something important to discuss with Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Seeing Bai Jiao and Yi Shui arrive, Jing Yu frowned slightly. What's the matter? Jing Yu looked at Bai Jiao and Yi Shui and asked, Bai Jiao, how's your injury? It's fine now. Bai Jiao nodded at Jing Yu. His eyes were filled with gratitude. That's good. Jing Yu nodded slowly. There was a faint smile in her eyes. Jing Yu, Bai Jiao just told me something about my family. After everyone exchanged a few pleasantries, Yi Shui slowly calmed down. She frowned at Jing Yu and said, I just found out that there are survivors in my family. What? Jing Yu's eyes widened in surprise after hearing this. There are survivors? What do you mean? Jing Yu stared at Yi Shui and asked. Chapter 12:12. It's like this. Bai Jiao frowned and said, When I was escaping, I heard about the family of sound attack from the Dark Yin sect. It turns out that the family of sound attack is not extinct in this world. They just live in seclusion. But it seems that they are active again this time. Bai Jiao frowned slightly and said, I know too little information. I wanted to investigate it, but when I was about to do so, the family of sound attack disappeared again. What's going on? Jing Yu frowned and looked at Bai Jiao, saying, Is it because the members of this family don't want to be found? I don't know. Bai Jiao lowered his head helplessly. Jing Yu, I want to find them. Maybe the family of sound attack is a branch of my family. Yi Shui looked at Jing Yu excitedly and said, Maybe the second half of the method of sound attack is in the family. If I can get it, I will have a chance to study it. Jing Yu nodded slowly and said, In that case, we need to investigate it carefully. Xiao Chen? Xing Yi, send someone to investigate. Xiao Chen heard Jing Yu's call and waved his hand at Xing Yi. Xing Yi nodded and left. What is the relationship between the family of sound attack and the different pupils? Jing Yu was also curious about this. Jing Yu didn't know if it was her illusion. After Bai Jiao and Yi Shui came and told Jing Yu about the family of sound attack, Jing Yu had a strong sense of uneasiness in her heart. In the past few days, this sense of uneasiness had become stronger and stronger. Jing Yu frowned and her eyes were filled with confusion. In the dark night, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were sleeping soundly. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the room. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen opened their eyes at almost the same time. They instantly jumped up and jumped in a direction without any hesitation. It's me. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen both had bright daggers in their hands. The daggers were placed on someone's neck. Feng Ling? When Jing Yu saw the person's face clearly, she immediately widened her eyes in confusion. She stared at Feng Ling's raised hand and did not dare to move. She slowly put away the dagger in her hand. What are you doing here? Xiao Chen's face darkened when he saw Feng Ling. Phew. I just came to say goodbye. After Feng Ling saw the dagger move away, she raised her hand and touched her neck with lingering fear. She said, "You two are too scary. My neck almost separated from my body." Serves you right. Who told you to barge in the middle of the night? Jingyu looked at Feng Ling speechlessly. She turned and walked to the side to put on her clothes. What are you doing here? Speak. Xiao Chen looked at Feng Ling expressionlessly and said, I'm preparing to leave. Feng Ling looked deeply at Jingyu and said, the people from Yaojiang have been coming in and out of the Central Plains frequently. You be careful. Feng Ling's words had a hint of seriousness. Yaojiang? Xiao Chen's expression flickered and he lowered his head. Although I don't know the reason, it's not hard to confirm. The people from Yaojiang want to interfere with something. Feng Ling looked casually at Xiao Chen and Jingyu and said, I'm just here to remind you. As for what it is, it's none of my business. That's really strange. Jingyu frowned. After hearing Xiao Chen's report, Jingyu felt even more uneasy. When she thought of the Holy Family and poison sect's silence, Jingyu felt that something very bad was about to happen. Chapter 12-14. What's wrong? Why do you look so pale? Xiao Chen stroked Jingyu's cheek and frowned when he saw the weariness in Jingyu's eyes. It's nothing, I haven't been sleeping well lately. Jingyu lowered her eyes and didn't say anything else. Jingyu's unease came and went. After a while, she began to think that she was overthinking things. While everyone was watching the Tokyo and Nanli fight, the Holy Family and Poison Sect, who hadn't heard anything for a long time, finally found out something. It turned out that the Tokyo and Nanli were fighting because of a disagreement between the Poison Sect and the Holy Family. Nanli supported the Poison Sect while the Tokyo respected the Holy Family. That's why the two sides started fighting. This internal conflict had undoubtedly given Jingyu's group a good opportunity. Fang Zicheng naturally understood the logic behind it. After repeatedly confirming the accuracy of this information, he immediately asked Jingyu to start preparing for a counterattack without hesitation. Jingyu was their trump card in this battle. Everyone thought that Jingyu's eyes were blind and that she no longer had the power of her otherworldly pupils. However, that wasn't the case. Not only had Jingyu's eyes recovered, but she'd even trained a squad of eagle riders. This was like adding wings to a tiger for Xiao Chen's men. The curtains to the battle finally lifted. Fang Zicheng and Xiao Chen's men were locked in a bitter struggle. Jingyu wasn't allowed to participate in the battle yet, so she naturally understood Fang Zicheng's plan. He wanted to create the illusion that Jingyu had completely lost her effectiveness in Jinling Town. All they had to do was wait for the Tokyo and Nanli's men to deliver themselves to them. Once they let down their guard, that would be when Jingyu would make her move. Therefore, during this period of time, Jingyu could be said to be particularly idle. Miss Jingyu. But every time Jingyu was free, an idiot would come to harass Jingyu. Jingyu's face darkened as she watched the smitten Muyu dash over. She gave Xing Er a look, and Xing Er calmly stuck out his foot. Muyu stumbled and almost tripped on the ground. Xing Er, aren't you immature? You trip this young master every time. Muyu steadied himself and glared fiercely at Xing Er as he shouted. Since you know you will trip Prince Mu, why can't you avoid it every time? Xing Er silently said. Muyu's face instantly darkened, and the corner of his mouth twitched. I'm doing it on purpose. Muyu held his breath and said confidently, I'm too lazy to talk to you. Miss Jingyu. Muyu turned around and his expression changed. His smile was like a flower, and Jingyu covered her eyes. I can't see anything, I can't hear anything. Muyu, you're flirting with my yayer again. At this moment, an angry shout came from the door. When Muyu heard this figure, his expression changed. Who was this person? Shangguan Linglan. Speaking of which, why was Muyu so afraid of Shangguan Linglan? She was probably the only girl Muyu didn't dare to flirt with. What was the reason? Chapter 12:15. Oh my God! When Muyu heard Shangguan Linglan's shout, he was instantly enraged. Without a second thought, he turned around and ran. Shangguan Linglan threw the long sword in her hand without hesitation. Gotcha! The long sword pierced through Muyu's crotch and stabbed into the ground. Muyu lowered his head to look at his clothes that had been pierced through. His legs gave way and he almost fell to his knees. Jingyu only saw a flash of cold light in front of her eyes. When she turned around, she saw this scene. Her little heart was beating nonstop. Linglan was really too valiant. Help! Muyu almost instantly ran away. Ever since the last time Muyu did not care about the battlefield and said that he was bored, he sneaked back to tease Jingyu. This scene was caught red-handed by Shangguan Linglan. Without a second word, she grabbed Muyu and gave him a good beating. This time, it was terrible. Muyu had never seen such a valiant woman. Unfortunately, Shangguan Linglan was a military general. Her strength was called ruthless. She almost beat Muyu up so badly that even his mother would not be able to recognize him. Ever since this incident, whenever Muyu did something wrong, Shangguan Linglan would torture him with her life. Jingyu saw with her own eyes that Muyu was running in front while Shangguan Linglan played with her bow behind him. From then on, Muyu's life became completely dark because of Shangguan Linglan's appearance. Just like now, when Shangguan Linglan threw the long sword fiercely. Say, if the sword was accidentally thrown by just a little bit, Muyu's life as a prince would be gone. Jingyu silently swallowed her saliva and looked at Xing Er. Xing Er seemed to understand what Jingyu wanted to say. He silently lowered his head and pretended that he did not see Jingyu's gaze. However, speaking of Muyu, during this period of time, Jingyu had a whole new level of respect for this person for the first time. Jingyu was curious that Muyu, a prince, was a great contributor to Helian Theo's fight for the throne. Therefore, she put on a cloak and went to the top of the city wall. For the first time, she saw Muyu commanding the army. He was the general who had changed into battle armor and ordered a massacre on the battlefield. He was the general who wielded the halberd in his hand. He was the general who protected the soldiers as they retreated from the enemy. He was the general who protected the northern shepherds. At that moment, Jingyu suddenly seemed to understand. When had the Mu Palace ever declined? Jingyu was a little lost in thought. The corners of her mouth curled up and a faint smile flashed in her eyes. Her ears were filled with Muyu's cries and shouts, as well as Shangguan Linglan's flustered and exasperated pursuit. For some reason, Jingyu heard such a clamor, but for some reason, it was very peaceful. The battle was getting closer and closer. Jingyu could not be idle. In the Roman forest, the soldiers' training team was once again formed. This time, the army of tigers and wolves was Jingyu's trump card. On the high city wall, Jingyu looked into the distance. It was finally here. All the hatred and enmity would be washed away in this battle. Xiao Chen and Helian Theo led their troops to the Tokyo and Nanli's camps. At this moment, a chaotic battle broke out. All the soldiers of the northern pastoral were mobilized. They attacked the Tokyo and Nanli's camps without hesitation. This posture was like a counterattack from a dead end. Chapter 12:16. Your Highness! Your Highness! A joyful voice came from Nanli and Tokyo's tent. What's the matter? Mu Qinghua asked as he sat on a chair. Everyone was sitting in the same tent. Ninth Imperial Uncle and the Northern Shepherd have mobilized all their troops and are heading toward our camp, the soldier said with joy in his eyes. What? They're really coming? Mu Qinghua's eyes lit up when he heard the soldier's words. He turned to look at everyone in the tent and said, Our plan succeeded. They're finally here? In the main seat of the tent, the person sitting in the high seat was dressed in black. His cold face flashed with a cold light. Wasn't that the sacred clan's high priest, Qin Bai? High priest, what should we do next? The third elder of the Holy Family, Jie and Qin Bai's guard, Ling Ji asked. There is no rush. Qin Bai's black eyes looked down as he said, The real show has only just begun. Qin Bai's words sent a chill down everyone's spine. They looked at Qin Bai with vigilance. Our old friend is coming soon, right? Qin Bai narrowed his eyes. He seemed to be looking forward to it. Nailan Yu, Yun Tian, and the others also narrowed their eyes when they heard Qin Bai's words. Yes, our old friend is coming soon. A faint voice sounded in the tent and a strange atmosphere was brewing. The battle between Nanli and Tokyo and northern pastoral troops was getting more and more intense. Cebu didn't participate in the battle. Jing Yu didn't appear in the battle. Finally, in one battle, Jing Yu appeared. Her eyes were covered with a black cloth and she only appeared for a moment before leaving. It seemed like she was unable to participate in the battle. In the dim light of night, at the Tokyo S camp, Qin Bai stood in front of the tent with his hands behind his back. He looked up at the sky and frowned as if he didn't understand something. My lord. Ling Ji put the cloak in her hand on Qin Bai's body. My lord just sent news that the woman with different pupils appeared on the battlefield today. Ling Ji stood respectfully behind Qin Bai and said, Qin Bai looked at Ling Ji and frowned. He looked at Ling Ji with a questioning gaze. She is indeed blind. Although her hearing is excellent, there is nothing to be afraid of. When Ling Ji said that, Qin Bai frowned. He looked as if he was thinking about something very important. Qin Bai looked as if he was thinking about something very important. My lord, the woman with different pupils is no longer a threat. Why does my lord still? Ling Ji paused. No, you're wrong. Qin Bai's eyes lit up. He looked up at the sky and said, the danger of my holy family has not disappeared. As long as the blood-red light doesn't disappear, my holy family will not be at peace. After Ling Ji heard Qin Bai's words, her expression changed slightly. We can't let the woman with different pupils live. Continue to prepare. Qin Bai turned around and said. Ling Ji lowered her head and looked at Qin Bai walking into the tent. She moved aside and lowered her head. Chapter 12-17. After Ling Ji left, Qin Bai sat in the room without any movement. His brows were slightly furrowed, as if he was thinking about something difficult to explain. But why is this happening? In front of Qin Bai, a few copper coins had fallen on something that looked like an astrolabe. Qin Bai's eyes were fixed on the astrolabe, and his expression was unreadable. Why is this happening? Qin Bai's hands were tightly clenched, and his body was trembling slightly as he looked at the astrolabe in front of him. A dead end with no way to solve it. Why is this happening? Wasn't the other pupil destroyed? But why is this happening? Qin Bai's eyes were filled with madness. He slowly picked up a few copper coins and threw them down again. A strange thing happened. The copper coins fell in the same position as before. A dead end. It's still a dead end. But why? Qin Bai's face was filled with ferocity. When Lai Lian threw down the copper coins 3 times, they all landed in the same position. Qin Bai completely collapsed. A dead end. Pooh. Finally, Qin Bai couldn't take it anymore. He looked at the situation and suddenly felt the blood in his chest churning. There was a sweet taste in his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Something must have gone wrong, it must be. Qin Bai's face was ugly. He stared at the astrolabe and finally leaned back a little. He slowly frowned and murmured, where did this go wrong? Could it be the other pupil must die? Qin Bai's eyes slowly narrowed, and he stared at the astrolabe. His eyes were filled with seriousness, and his face was filled with all kinds of thoughts. Finally, he seemed to have made up his mind and slowly lowered his head. In that case, for the safety of the Holy Family. A murderous look flashed across Qin Bai's eyes. Finally, he slowly lowered his eyes. Qin Bai's voice rang out in this quiet tent. When Qin Bai made this decision, the heavenly secrets seemed to have quietly changed. Everything was moving in an unpredictable direction. On the other side of the tent, a strange scene was happening. Nailan Yuan sat in the tent. Yun Tian and Yun Jing also sat there. The 3 of them sat together, but none of them spoke. Eldest young master, I've already arranged everything that needs to be arranged. The rest is up to you. Nailan Yu's red dress was like fire. Her exposed skin seemed to reveal a very attractive glow under the dim yellow light. Rest assured, 3rd Mississippi, Yun Tian's eyes slowly narrowed as his lips curled into a joyful smile. This time, Xiao Chen will definitely be yours. If anything goes wrong this time, I won't let you guys go. Nailin Yu said as she slowly stood up. Her charming eyes curved into a cold arc as she said, "It's about time. I'm just waiting for the last time to make my move." "Don't worry, I won't disappoint you," Yun Tian faintly replied. He lowered his eyes, hiding the strong disgust in his eyes. He looked at Nailin Yu's satisfied body and turned his head away in disgust. Behind Nailin Yu, there was a man wearing black clothes and an iron mask following behind Nailin Yu. On his exposed neck, one could faintly see a trace of a scratch. Chapter 12:18. Without a doubt. This person was the Shadow Guard who had been protecting Nailin Yu all this time, a man called Shadow. Ever since the last battle, when Shadow's face had been injured by a silver arrow, he had been wearing this mask. "Why are you still following me?" Scram. It was because Shadow's face had been injured that Nailin Yu hated him. Just as Nailin Yu was about to return to her tent, she found that Shadow was still following behind her, and her face was filled with disgust as she chased him away. "Yes." The Shadow bowed and stood where he was, bowing his head in response. He watched as Nailin Yu walked into the tent. He still stood where he was until he heard the ambiguous sounds coming from within the tent. Only then did the Shadow slowly turn around. His head was lowered, and the sword in his hand did not seem to have changed at all. However, under those lowered eyes, those eyes were filled with killing intent, and it was a terrifying sight. The battle was still raging on, and Xiao Qin, Helian Theo, Mu Yu and the others were still fighting on the battlefield. At the same time, the Wanshou army that Jing Yu had trained was also on full display. In this battle, Jing Yu would not allow herself to be defeated. Has the information been confirmed? Within Jinling, Jing Yu and Fang Zicheng were sitting in a room, currently studying the situation of the recent battles. It has been confirmed. Fang Zicheng slowly put down the stack of papers in his hands, rubbing his aching temples as he said, "I was too impatient before. The battle between Tokyo and Nanli was indeed just an illusion. Their intention is to test whether or not the 9th Imperial Concubine's eyes have truly disappeared." Fang Zicheng's face was filled with fatigue. These few days, Fang Zicheng had not had any time to rest, and had been constantly studying and analyzing. In the recent battles, 9th Imperial Concubine, after you went onto the battlefield, they have indeed confirmed their suspicions. As Fang Zicheng spoke up to this point, a faint smile appeared in his eyes as he said, "They have indeed increased the intensity of their attacks. If I'm not wrong, the enemy is about to launch an all-out attack on us." Fang Zicheng looked up at Jing Yu and said, "This will be a crucial battle for us. The Holy Family and the Poison Sect will definitely be involved. Over the past few days, Qingge has developed many medicine sachets to counter the Poison Sect's poisons." Fang Zicheng pursed his lips as he looked at Jing Yu. "They should be done soon." "Okay." Jing Yu nodded happily. "Now, all bets are on you, the 9th Imperial Concubine. How are the preparations for the Wanshou army coming along?" Fang Zicheng's eyes were filled with excitement as he stared fixedly at Jing Yu. "It's perfect." Jing Yu nodded firmly at Fang Zicheng. "If that's the case, I can rest assured." Fang Zicheng and Jing Yu exchanged glances, their eyes filled with excitement. In Jinling town, the entire Jinling was filled with a sense of impending storm. The soldiers' armor and weapons were all being refurbished and repaired. Jin Hai was in charge of all these matters, and he had been extremely busy these past few days. All the soldiers were in a battle stance, preparing for a fatal blow. Was this the end of the battle? Chapter 12:19. The Holy Family. The Poison Sect. Are you all prepared to fight me? Everything was in order. Just when they were about to face off against Nanli and the Tokyo, something unexpected happened. What did you say? Xiao Chen fainted? Jing Yu never expected that Jing Yu, who had just returned from the Roman forest, would hear such news and immediately rush into the room. Xiao Chen. In the room, Xiao Chen was sitting on the bed, frowning slightly. He raised his hand to rub between his eyebrows, looking sick. Jing Yu's eyes were full of anxiety. What's going on? Why did he suddenly faint? Jing Yu looked at Xiaochen before her gaze finally landed on Qinggu. We can't drag this out any longer. Qinggu let out a deep sigh and withdrew his hand from Xiaochen's wrist. His expression was slightly serious as he looked at Xiaochen with a dignified look in his eyes. Xiaochen turned his head away and didn't say anything. Ninth brother's body has been like this ever since he came back from the poison sect. Qinggu sighed deeply and said, I originally thought it was just an ordinary poison, but I never expected that the poison brother was afflicted with was anything but ordinary. Poisoned? What's going on? Jing Yu's heart tightened as she stared intently at Xiaochen. It's a long story. Xiaochen slowly lowered his head and said, Do you still remember how I was saved? The people who saved me were from the poison sect. Xiaochen slowly lowered his eyes and said indifferently, Madam. Xing Yi sighed deeply and said, Although Master's life wasn't in danger at the time, the arrow almost pierced his heart. When Nailin Yu saved Master, she added another kind of medicine into Master's daily medicine. It's a slow-acting poison. Xing Yi slowly said, If Master doesn't drink that medicine, he won't be able to live. But if he drinks it, he'll become addicted. What? Jing Yu's eyes suddenly widened. It finally explained why Jing Yu always slept so soundly in the middle of the night. She didn't even notice that the grass would leave for a period of time in the middle of the night. Where was Xiaochen when they left in the middle of the night? Jing Yu stared intently at Xiaochen and said, Why? Why didn't you tell me? Jing Yu? Xiaochen slowly turned his head away. His pitch-black eyes flashed with an icy light as he said, I didn't want you to see me in such a sorry state. Jing Yu felt a sharp pain in her heart when she heard Xiaochen's words. Just how irresponsible was she to not know how much pain this man, who was with her every day, who slept with her every night, was enduring? I originally thought that the medicine would be able to control Ninth Brother's drug addiction, but I didn't expect that it would only treat the symptoms and not the root of the problem. It was under control for a while, but after that, it worsened and he needed even more medicine to satisfy his drug addiction. If this continues, Ninth Brother will die. Qing Ji's expression turned abnormally ugly as he said, He fainted today because Ninth Brother has been trying to kick his drug addiction, but it's completely useless. Chapter 12:20. Following Qing Ji's words, the room was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. You guys can leave. Xiaochen was silent for a long time before he finally spat out these words. Qinggu stood up and nodded at Jing Yu and Xiaochen before he followed Xing Yi and the others out of the room. Only Jing Yu and Xiaochen were left in the room. Jing Yu stood stiffly by the bed for a long time. Are you scared? Xiaochen raised his head slightly and looked at Jing Yu as he asked. His pitch-black eyes shone faintly. Jing Yu remained standing in the same spot without saying a word. I'm scared. Jing Yu walked step by step toward Xiaochen. She stood in front of Xiaochen and stared at Xiaochen with her golden-green eyes as she said, Xiaochen, if not for today's incident, were you planning to never tell me about this? Were you planning to hide it forever? Jing Yu's eyes were glistening with tears. Xiaochen, tell me, what am I in your eyes? Why didn't you tell me? Don't tell me. You want me to bear the pain of hearing the news of your death again? Xiaochen, are you planning to abandon me again? The moment Jing Yu finished speaking, the tears in her eyes flowed uncontrollably. Xiaochen's eyes widened and he hurriedly stood up. When he saw Xiaochen's tear-streaked face, his heart trembled violently. Xiaochen reached out to wipe away Jing Yu's tears. I just didn't want you to worry. Xiaochen frowned slightly and looked at Jing Yu cautiously as he spoke. You'll only make me more worried if you do this. Jing Yu glared fiercely at Xiaochen and said, You didn't tell me anything and you didn't want to tell me anything. You just endured it all by yourself. What do you take me for? Xiaochen, do you know that I want to be with you? No matter what it is, whether it's pain or happiness, I just want to be with you. Xiaochen, don't leave me alone again. Jing Yu raised her head and looked at Xiaochen. The look in her eyes made Xiao Chen's heart tremble. He raised his hand and pulled Jingyu into his arms, holding her tightly in his arms. Only at this moment did he feel it so clearly. That burning emotion was so warm and moving. I'm sorry," Xiao Chen said deeply into Jingyu's ear. He was too selfish. He always thought that it would be fine if he didn't say anything. However, he didn't know that the consequences of not saying anything would be even more serious. Inside the room, Xiao Chen was comforting Jingyu. Outside the room, Qinggu and Xing Yi were talking worriedly. Xiao Chen explained everything clearly to Jingyu. In order to get Xiao Chen, Jingyu didn't hesitate to use poison to trap Xiao Chen. This was probably the first time Jingyu saw Xiao Chen's appearance when he was poisoned. His eyes were red as he rolled around on the bed. The way he gritted his teeth and growled made Jingyu unable to control herself and rush forward. "All of you get out." Jingyu looked sideways at Qinggu and the others and said, "Leave the medicine. When it's time, I'll let him take it." This. Qinggu hesitated for a moment. When he saw Jingyu's determined expression, he slowly nodded his head in agreement. Chapter 12:21. Jingyu blinked her eyes in a daze. She propped herself up and rubbed her sore body. Xiao Chen was too fucking ruthless. Jingyu propped herself up and tried to get off the bed, but she realized that her legs were too weak to walk. Just then, the door opened and Xiao Chen, dressed in black, walked in slowly. When he saw that Jingyu was awake, his eyes revealed a look of surprise. You're awake?" Xiao Chen walked over quickly with a bowl of porridge in his hands. "Xiao Chen, did you change my clothes for me?" Jingyu blinked and looked at Xiao Chen as she asked. "Yeah." Xiao Chen nodded calmly. "Did you also help me take a shower?" Jingyu's eyes widened again. She looked at Xiao Chen with a face full of horror. She suddenly felt unwell. Didn't this mean that Xiao Chen had seen her naked? "Anyway, I've already seen it. What's there to be afraid of?" Xiao Chen said calmly with a slight smile. Jingyu instantly jumped up and roared at Xiao Chen angrily, "How is this the same?" Xiao Chen turned to look at Jingyu. He didn't say anything, but he looked at Jingyu as if he was asking, "What's the difference?" Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen and her mouth twitched. She turned her head away. "I'm hungry. I want to eat meat." Jingyu said angrily. "No, I only know how to make porridge." Xiao Chen replied calmly. You made it." Jingyu looked at the porridge that Xiao Chen brought over and silently reached out to take it. She looked at Xiao Chen with a conflicted expression and said, "You didn't poison it, did you?" Xiao Chen's mouth twitched. It tastes pretty good," Jingyu said as she started drinking. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu and smiled. "Even if it was poisoned, didn't you drink it willingly?" "Next time, don't do such silly things." Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu as she drank the porridge. He lifted his hand to brush away Jingyu's hair and spoke calmly. His pitch-black eyes sparkled with tenderness. Jingyu turned to look at Xiao Chen and saw the tenderness in his eyes. She pursed her lips and said, "Xiao Chen, I did it willingly." Xiao Chen's hand froze when he heard this. He paused for a moment, then slowly retracted his hand and said, "Hurry up and eat. The porridge is getting cold." Jingyu took a good rest after drinking the porridge. Then she came to the main hall. Xiao Chen and Qinggu were sitting there. When Qinggu saw Jingyu, he immediately smiled at Jingyu. "Ninth sister-in-law, you are really too amazing." Qinggu opened his mouth and said this sentence, which immediately made Jingyu stunned. Jingyu walked over to Xiao Chen and sat down beside him. She looked at Qinggu in confusion and asked, "What? Hurry up and tell me how you made ninth brother restrain himself last night. I can't believe that the amount of medicine he took was so little." Qinggu looked at Jingyu in surprise and said, "The few of us couldn't suppress ninth brother. How did you do it, ninth sister-in-law?" Jingyu's expression changed when she heard Qingji's words. Looking at Qingji's curious expression, Jingyu's mouth twitched. What should she say? Chapter 12:22. She couldn't even open her mouth. Should she tell Qinggu? Last night, fuck. Jingyu silently turned her head and chose to ignore Qing Ji's words. So awkward, so awkward. Qinggu, didn't you say something happened to my body? Xiao Chen's nonchalant question changed Qing Ji's mind and successfully changed the topic. Xing Er and Xing Yi, who were standing at the side, lowered their heads silently. Only Qinggu dared to ask such a question. Could it be that you didn't see the marks on Madame's exposed neck that would make one's imagination run wild? Even if one used their toes to think, one would know what exactly happened last night. Yes, ninth brother. Qinggu can't drag this out any longer. Qinggu turned to look at Xiao Chen and said, if you continue to suppress it like this, the situation will only worsen. It will be even more difficult to recover in the future. Is there any way? How can I detoxify it? Jingyu pursed her lips and her expression turned ugly. She narrowed her eyes and stared at Qinggu. There is a way, but it's too troublesome. Qinggu sighed deeply and said, there is a way to detoxify it, but the herbs needed to detoxify it aren't here. The situation is so tense now. There's an antidote? Where is it? Jingyu's eyes lit up as she looked at Qinggu excitedly. It's in Cebu. The Liaofeng Plains is the largest plains in Cebu. There's a rare herb growing on the plains called the longtsu grass. Qinggu pursed his lips and said, the longtsu grass only grows on the Liaofeng Plains. Cebu. Jingyu frowned slightly. The dragon song grass is not too bad, but the other ingredient is troublesome. Qinggu sighed deeply and said, if we want to control the poison in ninth brother's body as soon as possible, we still need the most important ingredient. What? Jingyu raised her head and asked. Qinggu said slowly, wuji is a kind of fruit. It is said that it comes from the distant land of Miaojiang. This fruit is extremely precious. There are only 3 fruits on a tree, so it is called wuji. The Miaojiang people treasure wuji very much. Qinggu helplessly lowered his head and said, we definitely can't go to Miaojiang to get it now. The only wuji I know is probably in the palace of Cebu. What? The palace of Cebu? Jingyu's eyes widened. Her mouth twitched and her face darkened. So, Qinggu spread his hands and said to Jingyu and the others, if we want to remove the poison in ninth brother's body, I'm afraid we have to go to Cebu. Everyone fell silent. If it was in the past, going to Cebu would not be a big deal. However, how could they go to Cebu at a time like this? What if something went wrong? Not to mention the urgency of the war, but Wei Ling already knew about Jingyu's abnormal pupils. It was possible that Wei Ling used his troops to force Jingyu to stay in Cebu. What should they do if that was the case? There were too many unknown factors in going to Cebu. It would be fine if they were just going to the plains, but they didn't expect to have to go to the palace as well. Chapter 12:23. They'd practically be delivering themselves up to be slaughtered. We have to go, Jingyu said resolutely as she furrowed her brows. We can't delay Xiao Chen's treatment any longer. We have to go to the Cebu. Jingyu looked at everyone. As for the battle here, I'm afraid we'll have to hold it off for a while. We can't let news of Xiao Chen leak out. Ninth sister, it's no use. Qinggu slowly shook his head. Since the poison sect poisoned him, they must have predicted this. If we head to the Cebu now, we'll definitely be hunted down non-stop. Damn it. Jingyu's expression changed. Qinggu was right. Even if they headed to the Cebu now, the poison sect must have predicted it long ago. How could the journey be smooth? If that's really the case, then it's not a bad thing. Just as everyone thought it was a bad thing, Xiao Chen suddenly spoke up. If we attract the attention of the poison sect and the Holy Family, the battle here will definitely be less tense. That's not a bad thing. At least Jinling won't be in any danger for now. Xiao Chen turned to Jingyu and the others. Now that you mention it, you're right. Jingyu slowly nodded. Since that's the case, then let's call Helian Theo and Fang Zicheng over to discuss our next steps. We have to go to the Cebu. As for what happens after we get to the Cebu, we'll talk about it later. Jingyu furrowed her brows as her lips curved into a smile. We'll have to wait and see what Wei Ling plans to do next. Xiao Chen furrowed his brows. Would Wei Ling choose to repay the debt of saving his life in the Roman forest or to serve the country? No one knew. Later, Helian Theo and Fang Zicheng arrived. After listening to Jing Yu and Qing Ji's conversation, they began to discuss what to do next. The war between Tokyo and Nanli had been stopped, and all the preparations had been stopped. As long as Xiao Qin and Jing Yu didn't return, the battle couldn't start. During this period of time, the city gates couldn't be opened. They just needed to defend Jinling. All orders were to wait until Jing Yu and Xiao Qin returned. Xiao Qin's body couldn't be delayed any longer, so this was the only thing they could do. 3 days later, Xiao Qin and Jing Yu set off towards the Cebu with Qinggu, Xing Yi, and Xing Er. It would take at least a month to get from Jinling to Cebu. Xiao Qin and Jing Yu would still need half a month to get there. Who knew if Jinling would be able to hold on? All right, Xiao Qin, don't we have the Humvee? Jing Yu's eyes lit up. She looked at Xiao Qin excitedly and said, if we take the Humvee, we can save a lot of time. I thought of that too. Xiao Qin nodded slowly when he heard Jing Yu's words. Riding the Humvee is good, but it's too big of a target. Plus, the Humvee needs to land to look for food, so it'll be easy to spot. Also, if we move too quickly, the Poison Sect and Holy Family will find out that we're riding the Humvee. Wouldn't that expose the Humvee's existence? It'll be very disadvantageous for us in the upcoming battle. Chapter 12:24. Also your eyes. Xiao Qin frowned as he looked at Jing Yu. You absolutely can't expose them on the way. I understand. Jing Yu slowly clenched her fists on her lap. Xiao Qin's words reminded Jing Yu that they had to be extremely low-key on the way to Cebu. Jing Yu absolutely couldn't expose her abnormal pupils. Otherwise, there would be huge trouble. It might even lead to the destruction of Jinling. Right now, Jing Yu was blind in the eyes of the Poison Sect and the Holy Family. She absolutely couldn't make a mistake at this moment. Jing Yu sighed deeply and lowered her head. She raised her hand to touch the corners of her eyes and slowly narrowed her eyes. Jing Yu, you should stay in Jinling, Xiao Qin said after some thought. He stared at Jing Yu. No. Jing Yu's eyes narrowed. She stared intently at Xiao Qin with her golden green eyes and said, I will cover my eyes. I definitely won't expose them. In Jinling, Helian Theo is here. Nothing will happen. But Xiao Qin pursed his lips. He was about to refuse when Qinggu stopped him. Ninth brother, it might be a good thing for ninth sister-in-law to go. Qinggu blinked and said, if ninth sister-in-law is here, isn't it a good thing that ninth brother can reduce the dosage of his medicine to this extent? Why don't you let ninth sister-in-law go? Jing Yu and Xiao Qin's faces darkened when they heard Qing Ji's words. Why did he suddenly bring this up? Ninth emperors, I also think that the ninth imperial concubine should go. Fang Zicheng also spoke up. Actually, half of what the ninth imperial concubine said is feasible. What? Jing Yu blinked her eyes in confusion. Xiao Qin and the others all looked at Fang Zicheng. They didn't understand what Fang Zicheng meant and were waiting for him to explain. Fang Zicheng sat up straight and said, it's actually very simple. Just now, the ninth imperial concubine also said that you will be discovered if you take the Humvee. If it's just a short ride, it doesn't seem to be difficult. Fang Zicheng narrowed his eyes and said, I remember that there's a part of the road from Cebu where there's no one around, right? Starting from the west side of the Roman forest, there's an uninhabited area. Although it's not in the Roman forest, it's still not a problem to enter. If you ride a Humvee, you can save a lot of days of travel. What do you think? After Fang Zicheng finished speaking, he blinked and looked at Jing Yu and the others. That's right, how could I forget? Jing Yu's eyes lit up and she nodded in surprise. Also, if Jing Yu can follow along, it's not a bad thing. Fang Zicheng narrowed his eyes and said, the Poison Sect and the Holy Family will definitely follow you and get some information. If we can confirm that the ninth imperial concubine's other pupil ability has disappeared, then things will be much simpler. Jinling will also be much easier. Fang Zicheng revealed a faint smile as he looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Qin. If that's the case, why not? Xiaochen slowly lowered his eyes after hearing Fang Zicheng's words. All right, Xiaochen sighed deeply and finally agreed to Jing Yu's request. Chapter 12:25. Okay, then let's pack up and set off early tomorrow morning. Qinggu stood up and said, the sooner he detoxifies the poison, the better. The more addicted he becomes, the more damage it will cause to Ninth Brother's body. After Jing Yu responded, she left with the others to pack their things. The next morning, everyone gathered at the outskirts of the Roman forest. Since they were going to ride the Humvees, they naturally had to go deep into the forest. Otherwise, they would be too big of a target. In the depths of the forest, Jing Yu, Xiaochen, and the others stood on a rock on top of a high cliff. Oh my God! Qing Ji's entire body was trembling as he held onto Xing Yi's arm tightly. Xing Yi's face was completely black. He stared at Qing Ji's pale appearance and silently twitched the corner of his mouth. Why did we have to climb so high? Qing Ji's legs were trembling as he looked at Jing Yu and Xiaochen in horror. Climb? Jing Yu's mouth fiercely twitched as she said, Qinggu, you were completely carried up by Xing Yi? So scary. Qinggu completely ignored Jing Yu's words as he tightly held onto Xing Yi's arm and refused to let go. I give up. Jing Yu's forehead was dripping with cold sweat as she completely ignored Qinggu. She raised her head and looked at the sky. The Humvees swooping down were so strong that Qinggu, who was already scared, became even more scared. Xing Yi looked at Qing Ji's appearance and silently took a step forward. He stood in front of Qinggu and blocked the incomparably strong wind. Let's go. The three Humvees stopped in front of Jing Yu and Xiaochen as the huge Humvees retracted their wings. Jing Yu and Xiaochen rode one, Xing Yi and Qinggu rode one, and Xing Er rode one each. Under Jing Yu's command, they swooped down towards the sky. Such a strong impact made Qinggu cry out in horror. Ah! Why did I fall? Qing Ji's screams echoed in the air. Don't make a fuss, Xing Yi quietly replied, then after some thought said, I won't let you fall. Qinggu was stunned when he heard this. Then he gripped Xing Yi's hand even tighter. With tears streaming down his face, he said, Ooh, you have to keep your promise. If I fall, I'll really become a meat patty. Haha. Jing Yu looked at Qing Ji's frightened face and mischievously made Xiaochen crash towards Qinggu and the others. Ah! Ninth sister. What are you doing? Don't come over. In the sky, Qing Ji's earth-shattering screams resounded. Xing Yi dodged left and right, but he couldn't escape Jing Yu's pursuit. Haha, this is too fun. Jing Yu sat behind Xiaochen and laughed like crazy. Looking at Qinggu like this, it was really too amusing. A faint smile appeared in Xiaochen's eyes. Seeing how happy Jing Yu was, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The fierce eagle soared through the sky without any obstacles, passing through this uninhabited area. What was supposed to be a 10-day journey was completed in 2 days on the Humvee. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the bustling area of Cebu. In a forest, Jing Yu and the others jumped off the fierce eagle. Chapter 12:26. We'll reach Beihua City in half a day's walk. Xing Yi steadied himself and looked at Jing Yu, Xiaochen, and the rest. Master, we'll have to walk the rest of the way by ourselves. The pack up. We'll reach Beihua before nightfall. Xiaochen responded. We can finally Qinggu had been living a life worse than death for the past 2 days. After hearing Xing Yi's words, he suddenly felt a sense of relief. He leaned against a tree trunk and sighed deeply. Beihua City was located in the southeast of Shiwu. It was undoubtedly a bustling city. When Jing Yu entered Beihua City, she had already put on gauze to cover her eyes. Just like when she was in Luan City, the gauze covered her faintly discernible eyes. Others couldn't see Jing Yu's eyes clearly, but Jing Yu could see others. Probably because she hadn't seen such a bustling city for a long time and hadn't heard such a lively noise, it actually gave Jing Yu a feeling that it was a lifetime ago. The noise was so loud that when Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others arrived in the city, the sky was already dark. After resting for the night, they bought horses and other necessities so that they could continue their journey the next day. Most of the necessities were bought by Xing Yi and Xing Er. Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and Qinggu waited at the inn. After eating dinner, they fell asleep. Beihua City was peaceful that night. The next morning, Xiao Chen, Jingyu, and the rest set out for the Liaofeng Great Plains. The Liaofeng Great Plains was north of Cebu, so Jingyu and Xiao Chen's group took a detour around Beihua. Their journey was relatively smooth, and they didn't encounter any major incidents. Thanks to Fierce Eagle, the poison sect and Holy Family hadn't caught up to Jingyu and Xiao Chen yet. However, this peace didn't last forever. After traveling for 3 days, Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the rest finally encountered the first wave of assassinations. Damn it, we were exposed so quickly. Outside the forest, Jingyu raised a hand to wipe the sweat off her forehead and frowned. I'm afraid we won't be able to enter the city tonight. Let's rest outside for a while. Xiao Chen looked around and said to the group, then led Jingyu and the rest into the forest. Jingyu's eyes were covered, so she could only let Xiao Chen lead her. After 3 days of travel, they were nearing the plains. The terrain here was very flat, and more people could be seen in the city. They were dueling or fighting on the streets. All Jingyu could hear were the sounds of shouting. The country of Cebu really lives up to its name of martial arts. Xiao Chen unhurriedly explained to Jingyu the various things in the city. Jingyu's face was full of curiosity as she slowly said, "That's right. Of course. Only in the land of Cebu can you truly see the strength of a powerful country." Xiao Chen narrowed his pitch-black eyes. But there's one thing to note. When things reach an extreme, they can only move in the opposite direction. Because the Cebu worships martial arts too much, there's been a lot of internal strife in the Cebu. They've established themselves as kings, and there's been countless incidents. Xiao Chen led the group down the street and said, "If not for this, how could the Tokyo become the strongest country in the world? If the Cebu can balance things out, they can't be underestimated." Chapter 12:27. Jingyu nodded in agreement when she heard that. "What's that noise in front? Why is it so noisy?" As Jingyu and the others walked, Jingyu suddenly heard the sound of joyous shouting. She looked at the noisy place through the veil and frowned slightly in confusion. "It's probably a joust for a spouse?" Xiao Chen glanced over and said calmly, "A joust for a spouse?" Jingyu's eyes widened in shock. In Cebu, this kind of thing is very popular. Xiao Chen pursed his lips and said, "It's not the kind of joust for a spouse that we know. In Cebu, no matter what kind of man it is, when he marries a girl, he has to go through a joust with the girl's family. He has to win in order to marry her." "No way?" Jingyu was shocked when she heard this. She said in shock, "What if I don't win?" "Then, until you win," Xiao Chen replied calmly. "Ninth sister-in-law, you don't know about this, right?" Qinggu said happily, "In Cebu, if a man can't even marry his wife and can't win in a battle, then he's not a man. He'll be looked down upon." This. Jingyu frowned in confusion. The people in Cebu are all very strong. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and said, "Winning in a battle is just for show. Who would actually go all out?" "That's true." Hearing this, Jingyu nodded in agreement. It wasn't like they were really going to risk their lives. They were just making it sound good. Jingyu and Xiao Chen chatted and laughed as they walked forward. As they walked, Jingyu's ears twitched. There was a sudden sound in the air. Jingyu turned to look and her pupils shrank. "This is..." Jingyu raised her voice. She didn't even see what it was. She only felt a gust of wind stop in front of Jingyu. In front of Jingyu, Xiao Chen caught a red ball in his hand. If Xiao Chen hadn't caught it, the ball would have smashed into Jingyu's face. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Xiao Chen slowly lowered his hand and asked Jingyu. "I'm fine. What is this?" Jingyu shook her head and frowned. She stared at the red ball in Xiao Chen's hand and asked, "This is..." Xiao Chen heard Jingyu's question. He glanced at the ball in his hand and threw it away expressionlessly. The red ball landed in the hands of a beggar lying on the side of the road. Where's the embroidered ball? Where's the embroidered ball? Xiaochen didn't answer Jingyu's question, but Jingyu already understood from the mouths of these people. This young master. You were the one who caught the embroidered ball. How could you throw it away? The group of people chasing after them all looked like young masters. When Xiaochen threw the embroidered ball away, it happened to be seen by one of the people who ran over first. Immediately, they started shouting, attracting the attention of the people behind them. They pointed at Xiaochen and his group and whispered among themselves. Xiaochen remained silent and didn't express any opinions. Who caught the embroidered ball from my Feng family? Just as the crowd was talking, the crowd slowly parted to form a path. A muscular man walked out. Behind the muscular man was a petite woman who looked very weak. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.